Well, it's official, boys and girls. The Gauntlet, we have a date, February 13th, Tuesday, February 13th to be exact. And on Wowhead, they released an article saying that General Manager Rod Ferguson has announced the release date of the Gauntlet and the accompanying leaderboards in an episode of the official Xbox podcast. We have that podcast. We're going to review some of the questions that were thrown at Rob. I don't know if you can call it questions. In watching the Q&A with Rod Ferguson, of course, it's an Xbox podcast. So Microsoft, Activision Blizzard, they own them. So I would consider a lot of the questions lob balls. And it gave the opportunity for Rod Ferguson not to only promote Season 3, but also reveal the Gauntlet is coming February 13th. Anyway, I hope you'll stick around. We're going to cover a little bit of that interview. You'll hear right out of Rod's mouth what he's saying and some of the questions that were asked, how he answered them. And then, as always, at the end of the video, and please do stick around till the end, I'll give you my 2 cents worth. Anyway, I hope you stick around and join me. We'll see you on the other side. All right, so the first question basically got into what does the season of Construct mean? And let's hear Rob's answer to that question.
Well, it's really about like this notion of both the story aspect to it and then the gameplay mechanics side of it, because it's always about sort of the lore and then how does it actually play. And so we've tapped into a good friend of ours in the lore, Zoltan Kuhl, who people who play Diablo 3 would know. And he's created this sort of this loom that is this a machine that can basically help defend against evil, and it's hidden and protected by all these vaults and all these sort of these constructs that, if you will, these sort of almost, they're kind of like what a robot would be in the Diablo lore. It's kind of more of a mechanistic, if that's the right word, kind of machine creature, if you will. And what's happened is that a demon, Malphus, has come along and has possessed the loom or the whole construct that's involved in that, and is basically turning the loom against humanity. And it's your job to go and sort of free it and defeat Malphus as the big bad. And one of the cool things you get to do along the way is you'll actually recover one of these constructs to become your companion. So that's the big sort of gameplay hook of Season 3, is that you're going to have this companion with you that you can then partner with you to defeat Malphus.
Or defeat Malphus by itself.
As someone who I always love having a rolling deep, sometimes as a necromancer, but even if you're playing a sorcerer or someone that may not have a companion, well, now you've got this. Is it the Seneschal companion, construct companion?
Yeah, we call it the Seneschal, and and it's basically by putting in certain stones into it, you can actually change its behavior and what skills it has. And basically, at any given time, it can have 2 different skills in it, what we call governing stones, and that will tell it like what its basic purpose is. And then you can put onto it tuning stones, which will then augment that skill to behave differently. And so depending on whether you want it to be kind of a tanky companion to absorb damage or attract aggro, you can have it be that. You can have it be kind of a caster for you. Or if you're choosing, I want to kill everything that I come up against, every demon I see I want to kill, you can actually have the Seneschal basically support you and protect you. So it's really about what you're doing and not necessarily, it's more about a support, construct rather than going out and doing the fighting for you.
Very cool.
Yeah, Rod, you forgot to mention you could also elect to have it to be your one-shot boss killer. So basically I want you to hear what Rod says, because like I said, a lot of the questions are lob balls. You can, in watching this video through, I got a sense that this is basically a promo interview. But I want you to hear, the reason why I wanted to do this video is I want you to hear the current GM of Diablo talk about what this season is about in the current day. And what I mean by that is the fact that Season 3 has been a disaster. So knowing that, he's answering these questions. So I want you to have that in the back of your mind when you're watching his responses. This is his response in the current shitstorm that this game is in, specifically with 2 out of the 3 seasons being disastrous. But I want you to hear it from his mouth.
Yeah, that's the whole vault idea. So the notion of this idea of the Zoltan Cool vaults is those are basically another set of dungeons, and you'll be able to play through. And one kind of the big part of this season is we really wanted to bring the idea of traps into play. So these vaults are more kind of a lot of hazards in the way that we think about it, where you have to deal with all these different sorts of things that are kind of like, the self-defense of a dungeon, because without the monsters and stuff, you'd actually have all these sort of traps and pillars of fire and spikes from the ground and all these sorts of things. That it's the kind of the security system of a dungeon. And then on top of that, we have another monster family, which I was talking about, which are these constructs, which are they're driven elementally. So you have this notion of there's an electric version or a fire version, and you can fight these constructs as you go through. And so the vaults are kind of one of the main ways you play through, because the vault is what's going to give you, by going through them, you can actually get those stones that will help you, customize your seneschal. So getting those skills, or what we call governing stones, or getting those augmentations, what we call tuning stones, those all come through playing through the vaults. And because the trap layouts are always, in these 4 main vaults, there's also a mega vault that encapsulates it all, but where the big boss is. But the 4 kind of main vaults, that layout of the traps, at least, not the monsters, but the traps are always the same in each vault. So you can actually kind of learn each vault and kind of master it, because there's a little trick here. And so it's around this idea of, could you get through without taking a bunch of damage? And so the way that we track that is you're able to get this buff, or this blessing called Zoltan's Warding, and it gives you these stacks of this blessing. And as you're going through, if you get hit then from a trap, then a part of the blessing goes away. And by the time you get to the end of the dungeon, depending on how many stacks of that buff you have, it will open more chests for you. And so you get greater and greater rewards. Now you can really level up the buffs. Because I think you only need 16 is the highest, so it'll open all 3 chests. There's a chest at 15, there's a chest at, it might be 10, 5, and 1, I think is what it is. So it's 16 levels of it. But you can actually put on 300, buffs. So you could take a lot of hits on your way through and still get the rewards. But it's that sort of notion, that idea, and that's what we wanted to have, that knowable path through the vault, because we wanted you to get really good at it, so that you could sort of okay, this could be a good run. I'm going to put on some of the warding, and I'm going to go through and try to get those extra chests.
We all know the reaction to traps from the player base. Now, I personally, and I know this is not going to be popular, I personally have no problem with the traps. I have no idea why there's been such an uproar about the traps. I think it adds a different element to the game, that for once, something different. Now, I know this was copied from another another game, but I personally don't have a problem with this. I think it adds another element to the game. So, but we all know the majority of the player base hate the traps in season 3.
Anything else that?
Yeah, there's a couple things. One is in terms of just what's out now, which is really around the quality of life stuff. One of the things we always want to do each season is sort of improve the experience for the players. And something we heard a lot is, we have that event that happens in the world called Helltide, where a particular area will become, they'll start raining blood, and the demons will get harder to kill, but all these chests will appear that you can sort of unlock as you're going. And we've heard a lot of feedback about, we wish these were available more often. They would show up and go away. And so one of the things we're doing for season 3 is we're making Helltides be basically on all the time in some area, except it's basically on the hour a new one starts, and then it lasts for 55 minutes. There's a 5-minute rest, and then you're back at it again. So I think people are going to be excited to do that.
The fact that, Jeff asked Rod, what's new and exciting in season 3? And the fact that Helltide's not going away and going every hour on the hour with a 5-minute break in between, that being raised as what's new and exciting in season 3 is exactly the reason why there's a problem with season 3. How the hell should the Helltides, which is something that's been in the game for a while, be even raised as new and exciting for a new season? That statement in itself says a lot, and I'll let you to be the judge, be your own judge on on that. But there's no way Helltides should be new and exciting. It's been in the game for a while. And the fact that they made it every hour on the hour, so what? I don't find that as new and exciting, to be honest with you. Actually, I think people are tired of Helltides. But
I think the notion too is like we also always hear about inventory space and stash space. So we're really excited to bring another stash tab to players so they can continue to collect all that cool loot.
another gatekeeping, oh, look what we did kind of thing. Really, stash tabs should be left up to the player. We should be able to either grind for it or use in-game currency that we earn through playing the game in order to buy it. They limit the amount that we can buy, and it looks like they're going to gatekeep the stash tab, and only, I guess, every so often give us an extra stash tab. But the fact that that's new and exciting, I know a lot of players will be excited about the fact of having one more additional stash tab to put their useless uniques in. But again, new and exciting. So far, the two things that are highlighted are Helltides going every hour on the hour and one stash tab added.
But one of the biggest, one of the big things for us for season 3 was something we've been wanting to do since launch, which is leaderboards. It's something that's not there today, but on February 13th, we're going to be updating the game, and we're going to be releasing this feature called the Gauntlet. And the Gauntlet is a dungeon that has fixed placement every week. So it's a different dungeon every week, but during that week, it stays exactly the same. The monsters are all the same. They're in the same location. And it's just a way for people to go through and try to get the highest score possible. And as they do that, then they'll get posted on the leaderboards. And then they can compete against their friends. There's a friends leaderboard. There's a clan leaderboard. There's a class leaderboard. Am I the best barbarian? There's also like parties of 2, 3, and 4. So you'll all get to see where your rank is in the world or against your friends in terms of how you're going through the gauntlet. And so we know like leaderboards has been a big thing, especially in Diablo 3. And so we're really excited that in February 13th, we'll be able to bring that leaderboard feature back.
Awesome. So February 13th, guys, I have to say this is good. It always would have been a good thing the earlier they introduced the leaderboards in season 3. I have to say I was very skeptical. As you guys know, in my prior videos, I predicted they were going to release the leaderboards in the middle of season 3. And the fact that they're releasing it February 13th is a little bit more earlier than I anticipated it. So that's good news, because I know a lot of the player base is really pumped about playing the leaderboards. A lot of people have a competitive gene in their and they want to compete and see how they're doing, whether you want to compete against your friends. And as Rod alluded to, you're going to be able to see how you're doing up against your friends, how you're doing up against the rest of the world, whether it be by your class. And also for players that are looking for what the hell is destroying the leaderboards, you can go and you can check out, the top 1, 2, 3 players in a specific class and take a look at what they're rocking, what kind of setup they're rocking, and it may inform you on how you can change or maybe a build you can work towards too. So leaderboards provides those kind of things to a game, and it does really address a lot of the needs of a certain amount of players in the player base. So we'll see what the reaction is. Now, curious enough, February 13th, again, I don't know why Diablo 4 always chooses to drop these things like midweek or early week. It really does a disservice to the general population of the player base that's working. I always tend and prefer for games to drop updates or releases midweek to late week, so it gives the casual player that's working the opportunity to start playing the update, and it goes into the weekend, and maybe they have more time over the weekend. But dropping it on a Tuesday, it's really doing a disservice to the casual player, which this game is built for, if you ask me. But anyway, nonetheless, it's good news. February 13th. That's awesome. Can't wait to see what kind of reaction. However, it is 8 days prior to the launch of 1.0 on last epoch, which I predict is going to be a huge amount of players trying it out at least. I don't know how many are going to stick around and play it long term, but it's going to draw a lot of players. So it's going to be very interesting. Strategically, they added that. They did it on purpose, obviously, to give players a week to try it before last epoch launches, if you ask me. And I want to show you one more thing. Rod was asked, how do you balance all the feedback that you get? Like, do you listen to the is it something that it's just the loudest people in the room? Or like, basically he asked Rod, how do you balance all the feedback and ensure that you're doing the right thing and not just listening to the loudest person in the room? Let's hear his response to that question.
This thing.
Yeah, it's a mixture of things. Like you basically have to take quantitative and qualitative, and what I mean by that is like we have lots of data on how people play. We have lots of data on what the kind of damage output a class can do, or kills per second kind of thing that we track. And we also do surveys, and we also do focus groups and roundtables, and then we have that sort of qualitative, which is like, how does it feel to us? How does it feel based on the social media response or the sentiment amongst the players? And then you kind of have to mix all that together and look at it and kind of work through what's the right decision. And then ultimately, it was something we learned a lot, honestly, going from preseason to season one, is that we started in a very, when you're in development, up to that point, all the balancing we were doing was during development. We were just trying to make the most balanced game we could. And so when we had our first real big balance adjustment going into season one, we kind of focused on just the purity of the balance and not necessarily what players were considering to be the most fun thing to do at the time, which in a game like Diablo, kind of the most fun thing to do is to kind of feel like you're cheating, or you're slightly overpowered, or you feel like you found a loophole in the rule system or whatever, much like the ball lightning Sork. Like, we know that there's no way that Sork should be that powerful, but at the end of the day, we decided, people are having a lot of fun, and if people don't want to take advantage of that, they can play another class or another build if they want to. So it was really sort of learning this idea, and we kind of got down to, I call it the Mary Poppins strategy, which was, the spoonful of sugar that helps the medicine go down, and so we recognized that, hey, if for whatever reason, we might have to nerf something a little bit, much like if trying to maintain the balance for the leaderboards as an example, that make sure there's enough sugar there, enough fun there, that we're trading something for something potentially even more fun. And I think we kind of stumbled a little bit going into season one. It was all medicine and not enough sugar, and now we're trying to find that balance, and we continue to do that with each season of like, okay, what's the right thing to do for the game in terms of the balance and for the players, and do we have enough sugar there to make sure that our priority is our players having fun, as opposed to, oh, this is a perfectly balanced system. Because at the end of the day, it's kind of, with that much variety of class and skills and loot, you'll never have a perfectly balanced system, so you just want to have a fun balance system.
Okay, so fun is the new status quo in Diablo 4, guys. I have to say, I'm pretty, with that much variety in the class and systems, I don't know what he's talking about. At least in my experience, Diablo 4 doesn't have a ton of varying classes and I don't know what else he said, content or however it was. I don't see it that way. There's not a overwhelming varying degree of classes, variety, what you can play. So I kind of respectfully disagree with that comment, but it's nice to see that they're prioritizing fun. Now, it's funny that he said this, that they learned that from season one, that, you can't do all medicine, you got to do all sugar. And then they dropped a successful season 2. Everybody enjoyed it. And then season 3, I think they reverted back to, let's give more medicine, not fun. And, basically gave us a companion that didn't do anything. And now, they did a patch, fixed the seneschal, and now it's just a mountain of sugar where it literally kills bosses for you. So I think they're still, in my opinion, I think they still have to, they're still searching for the balance, because you're either poor or rich in this game. It's either rags or riches. It'd be nice if they were to find the balance, because then maybe this game would be enjoyable and for a lot more players. But at the end of the day, to me, the two big issues still loom in season 4, and I'm going to remain consistent in my feedback here. Season 4 is in my eyes, do or die. It's going to be the last nail on the coffin if they don't get season 4 right with itemization. I think, like I said in one of my earlier videos, it can't be a home run anymore because of the disastrous seasons that they've had. 2 of the 3 have been disastrous. So season 4 is going to be a big moment for Diablo 4, and I hope that they do hit a home run. I really want to see this game get back on its feet and much more players playing it. But on the good side, Gauntlets, February 13th. Let me know if you're going to play it. Let me know if you're going to challenge it. Let me know what your goals are. Are you trying to be number 1 in the world? Do you have that kind of skill? Do you have that kind of build? Let me know what you think. Or are you one of those players that's sitting in the sidelines, either waiting until, like myself, waiting until they fix the big ticket items, or you're on the sidelines and you're player number 2 that's never coming back? I would love to hear your comments and feedback. And if you're currently playing Season 3, I know there's another patch that's come out and hot fixes and all that kind of stuff. I'd love to hear how you're experiencing Season 3 right now. I know there are, and it's a small minority, coming into the comment section and saying, I'm having fun with Season 3. So if you are, that's amazing. Like I said, we all have different requirements and play styles and what we're looking for in a video game. So, some people like peanut butter, some people don't. I personally don't like peanut butter. I know I'm in the minority on that one. But my point is, we all have different requirements and we look for different things when it comes to occupying our time with video games. So for some people, Season 3 and Diablo 4 is doing it and they're enjoying it. So I'd love to hear that too, so we can have both sides of the spectrum in the comments section. Anyway, just wanted to give you a quick update, guys. February 13th, leaderboards are coming out. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please, if you could like, comment, and subscribe, I would really appreciate it. I'm trying to keep you guys up to date with all the Diablo 4 headlines. And if you could subscribe, I would really, really appreciate it. And as always, thanks for watching. I hope to see you next time. Take care. The opinions expressed in this video are mine and solely mine. Healthy debate is always encouraged. Hate is never welcomed. So get over it.